Right, you've all heard of tubeless. Some of you, like me, absolutely love it. I rave about it to my friends and I preach about it like a new religion. But I know there's a few of you who are not convinced. But either way, I think this video gives a solution to a problem that a lot of you have with tubeless. Now, I'm not going to pretend I came up with this trick, but it does make your tubeless setup last a lot longer. So stick around to see how I fix my tyres properly. But first, we've somehow managed 2 videos in a row where I'm riding through a storm. Last week was Bert, this week is Dara. It's a real dynamic duo that's causing havoc around the country. Lucky for me, despite forecasts of 60-mile-an-hour gusts, it wasn't actually too bad. By the time I got out riding, there was only a few gusts here and there, but nothing that wasn't manageable. It definitely helps that I'm firmly in the whopper category. So after my second build week since off-season, this week has been a much-needed rest week. I was honestly pretty cooked, but in a good way. The gains are coming fast and yeah, I'm really enjoying the training at the moment, despite the less than ideal weather. Today was a reduced version of my normal Fat Max session. So it's just 2 times 20 minutes of Fat Max, which, if you don't know, is roughly similar to around the upper end of zone 2. So it's not usually a super hard session, but yeah, good to get it done. And today was no different, despite the weather. I'll be doing more videos soon on the specifics of my training. Aside from getting jump scared by this fallen tree after my first effort, I also realised I had a slow flat. And I thought if I don't fix this now, it's only going to go fully flat on my second effort, so let's get it done. This one is actually completely my fault. I'd left the tubeless plug in that I knew was slowly leaking air, but I'd just kind of been hoping that it would fix itself, and yeah, I was being a bit lazy. But anyway, here we are. Round 2 of the exact same puncture that I'd fixed before. So first of all, if you run tubeless and you don't already bring tubeless plugs, honestly, it's a massive time saver. A small little kit like this takes up virtually no space and it will save so much time compared to putting a tube in. I also bring CO2 just because it saves that extra bit of time, and when it's this cold, I really haven't got the patience to let my hands get freezing. As you can see, I had to take my gloves off, so the time was really ticking before frostbite sets in. But seriously though, if you're stopped for too long and you get cold, it's actually really hard to warm up again. So the faster you can get it fixed, the better. Here it was a pretty simple case of threading the tubeless plug through the tool, pushing it into the tyre. Just be careful you don't poke through the tubeless tape into the spoke holes, so just look where the spokes are coming out the wheel. And yeah, jobs are good, and pull it out and we're good to go. You can save a bit of time by threading the plug through the tool in advance and leaving it in there, but I didn't do that. Once it was fixed and topped up, the pressure was good. Had to take a little detour through the forest to get around this fallen tree. Then we're back on the road with no other problems. So I'm filming this part of the video the next day now, and as I suspected, the plug has been leaking air. Sometimes they hold for a while, in which case I normally just leave them in, but a lot of the time it's a short-term solution, but they won't hold. So today I'm going to be showing you how I fix that properly and permanently. I'll be using glueless patches. Now these are made for inner tubes normally, but I find if you repair the tyre well, they actually work really well and usually last longer than the tyre itself will anyway. Or at the very least, giving you a few more weeks before you have to throw the tyre away. So, things we need: tyre lever, obviously, glueless, sticky patches. Then we've got some isopropyl alcohol. Don't ask why we store ours in an old mouthwash container, that's just how it is. And then obviously some tissue, a piece for drying and a piece for putting the alcohol on. So I've been running the Stormy 1 for winter. It's a pretty rugged tyre, pretty comfortable. I've got it in a 32C, which is very wide, but yeah, it does well for winter. Plenty of grip, and I'm not having to worry about skating across the road. Now normally I like to try and leave one bead on. It just makes that inflation again that little bit easier, but like I said, these tyres are tight, so it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna yank the old plug out that was leaking. Now you can actually see down there is an old plug that actually sealed and become a complete non-problem. So sometimes a plug is enough, but in this case it wasn't, and this is how you can fix the tyre. So first of all, it's really important to make sure the area is as dry as possible. I like to try and dry like a pretty big area just to make sure no extra sealant drips in, rolls in, or gets on the tissue or anything like that. So yeah, just make sure it's fully dry. Try not to leave any tissue fragments as well. Step 2, you're going to want to get a little bit of that sandpaper that pretty much every kit comes with. I prefer the sandpaper over these metal good things. I found they tear up the tyre a little bit too much, but you know, you make do with what you've got, and then you sand away that same area. Not too much, just really just enough to rough it up. We're dab a little alcohol on the tissue. So this really just gets rid of any oils that are going to stop the sticky from sticking. And that is the preparation done, finally. Now it's quite important that you press pretty hard for like a good minute or so, just to make sure the adhesive is really, you know, gotten in there. And that's pretty much it. You just reseat the tyre and you're good to go. Luckily, having a tight tyre means it almost always goes up with just the pump. Now I'm just checking to make sure the bead is fully seated. You can add more pressure, but I find, especially with a tyre that's been seated before a couple of times, you can just... Anyway, that pretty much sums up this little trick. I hope it lets you get a few more miles out of your tyres. I know it saved me from binning mine before they were ready. So yeah, it's pretty useful, especially if you get a big slice early into your tyre's life. It's just frustrating if you think you have to throw it away. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see when I did 7 hours in similar weather to this last week, then check out the video up here. And if you don't mind, give us a subscribe down there. See you next time.